Peace and love to everybody. Welcome back. Hope everybody's staying blessed. We're up here in the mountains. It's a little cold, but it's beautiful. So, the last few videos, we've gone down the spiritual rabbit hole. I expressed my story about my past growing up as a witness, and we dealt with what that looks like, some of the anxiety that can come along with that. And so, today what I want to talk about is moving forward or moving beyond spiritual abuse. So first, what is spiritual abuse? Of course, I should preface this by saying by no means is this meant to slander anybody's personal religious choices, spiritual choices, or any kind of groups that people are a part of, or organizations. We all have our own spiritual choices to make, and no one should be judged for those choices. And I'm also not a therapist. This is just my views from my experience. So now that that's out of the way, spiritual abuse and moving on from spiritual abuse. What is spiritual abuse? Spiritual abuse is basically if you, through your religious or spiritual experience, found that you were reliant on men to facilitate your relationship with God, or you had to indenture yourself to an organization or a group so that you could enjoy your spiritual experience, and if that group really had control over your spirituality, and that left you in a situation where if you expressed your feelings or your personal beliefs, you were scrutinized or cast out or looked down upon or judged or shunned. These are all forms of spiritual abuse. And when we look at the broad picture of people who have gone through religious experiences, whatever it may be, whether it's you grew up as a Jehovah's Witness like me, or maybe you grew up as a Mormon or any kind of Christian faith or any kind of Muslim faith, you could be in an experience or the situation where you sit there and you say, damn, you know what? Spiritually speaking, I was abused. Other people were in charge of my spirituality. And so a lot of people, once they've left whatever path they were on spiritually because of the abuse they felt they experienced, it can leave people feeling very empty and alone. And a comment that you will hear that's very, very common from if you leave, say, the witnesses, or say you leave a Christian church or whatever, a lot of times people will say to you, well, you chose to leave God, or you chose to leave Jehovah, or you turned your back on Christ. And this is a powerful, powerful comment. Because in many cases, actually, no. Those of us who walked away from whatever we walked away from, we never walked away from God or Christ or Jehovah or whatever your name that you choose for the Creator. Maybe you just chose to walk away from the group. But you'll have people who make these comments. And why do they make them? Because they work. They're very powerful comments. They basically reflect the feelings that the organization or that individual has onto you. And because that person believes, or that group believes, that the only way to get to God, or the only way to have a relationship with the Most High, is through them, that because you left them, you left God. So it's a mental trick. And for those of us who are sensitive spiritually, so people who have a strong natural connection to God, may even feel this kind of commentary even harder. It may hit you even harder because it can be confusing, especially for a young person. Because a young person could be sitting there and say, well, I see hypocrisy, or I've been abused in some way, and so I'm moving away from this group. But I love God. I love the Most High. I have a relationship with the Most High, but yet the group is telling me that I don't, or that I'm not good enough because I don't want to be part of the group. So simply put, this is a form of spiritual abuse. It's a form of taking away your power. Because naturally, if you leave any group and you feel like you don't necessarily need the group, but everybody in the group still does need the group, you've essentially you've taken back your own power. But people in the group may not like that. They may look and say, damn, I wish I could do that. I wish I could take back my spiritual power. But they can't. They're reliant on the group. And so they're going to deflect all of their beliefs and thoughts onto you. So what I see when I observe the ex-religious community, there's a lot of people right now, because of the age, the times that we live in are dictating that many, many people are questioning things they've been told their whole lives. People are questioning different groups they've been part of, or different organizations that have just been carrying on, are all of a sudden being called into question. In this day and age, you can Google anything. Everybody has an encyclopedia in their pocket. So, especially for young people, there needs to be proof. There needs to be evidence. We're living in the age of information. And so when we look at this ex-religious community, or people that have moved away from more fundamental, radical, controlling, manipulative religion, I see a lot of pain. I see a lot of people who are suffering, people who are lost. And so the question is why? Because of the spiritual abuse. People have left these paths and they now feel guilty or alone, or those comments like, well, you left God, they leave a lot of people in mental and spiritual torment. And so I want to express that for me, I guess I'm kind of lucky in some ways, because my mother always raised me slightly different from maybe what was being said at the hall. I mean, she always made it very clear that my relationship with God has to be my relationship with the Most High. And I'm so happy that she gave me that, because for so many people, that's just the problem, is that so many people who are inclined spiritually have never taken it upon themselves to just build that personal relationship with the divine. And for me, I really think that that is the ticket out. That's the ticket to freedom. And when you examine narcissism, narcissistic characteristics, which I have a lot in the last 6 months, I've done a lot of research and looking into this, you realize that when you're dealing with spiritual abuse, a lot of time you're dealing with narcissism. You're dealing with people who have elevated themselves, people who are so used to being in positions of power that anybody that questions them, you're out. You're going to be abused. And so what is the way to move forward from a narcissist? Well, in my experience, it's complete disconnection. But with that disconnection, there must come purpose. See, a lot of people will walk away from the spiritual abuse, but then they have no purpose in life. They've never tapped into that personal relationship with God. And so, much like a prisoner who gets out of jail, a lot of prisoners leave prison and the freedom itself is so overwhelming that they end up right back in prison, because they never ever took control of that freedom and started to build with it once they got out. And so for me, that is the ticket. Now, I understand a lot of people who are atheists. Well, this probably isn't for you if you're atheist. Move on to the next channel, because for me as a spiritual person, I'm addressing those other spiritual people out there who who have been affected by spiritual abuse. I think if you are an atheist, you don't believe in any of it, or you don't believe in God, or you're here and that's it, well, it really doesn't matter if you're spiritually abused, because you just want out anyways. But there's a lot of us who we still have that inclination. And basically what I want to let people know and encourage people with is that don't, just because a group tells you something about God or other, every thought that we have about the Creator, about God, is a figment of our imaginations. It is. Whether we believe it's real or not, we have to build that in our minds. Some people think about Jesus and they think, oh, wow, I think of a white guy with flowing hair and long white robes. Other people might think of Jesus as, wow, I think of him as a black guy with big dreadlocks and whatever it is. But the imagination kicks in to fill in the blanks. And so for those of us who have moved away from the abuse, we need to take back our power by using the imagination and creating our own relationship with God. And for me, that's what's helped me move away from the abuse. Because typically when you move away from this religious path or that religious path, people aren't going to come at you with kindness. You know, some people will come at you with kindness, but people who are still there will probably lash out at you and attack your choices. And if you haven't built that personal relationship with God, you're just going to be susceptible to their abuse. And no one wants to live like that. And when I look at all these ex-JW videos or ex-religious videos, I see a lot of pain. You know, I see a lot of hurt. And I think it would be nice if we can start to move the narrative in a different direction, and for people to take advantage of their freedom and really, really build that personal relationship with the Creator. Because once you have that, no one can take that away from you. Once your faith is yours and it's not lying in the hands of a group or an organization, you got the power. So, I hope these words can be of some encouragement to people. I believe strongly that there is a Creator that loves us, and it's just a matter of us tapping into that with our hearts, shedding the boundaries that have been built around spirituality by all these different religions, and taking back our power. So I wish everybody peace, love, happiness. Until the next time, this is the Drinking Gourd. I'm out.